A few days later, after finalizing all the necessary arrangements, I packed my bags and left my in-laws' house. Before leaving, I informed my mother-in-law of my departure and bowed to her out of respect. With a smirk, she looked at me and said, "You've been a terrible wife and an even worse mother from start to finish." She went on to accuse me of being the worst mother for leaving my children. I couldn't believe how much more she could mock me. My daughter and son chuckled when they heard my mother-in-law's words. My name is Maria, a 42-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Ken, our son Josh, and our daughter Amy. Our children have grown up wonderfully, and Ken works hard to provide for us, so we've enjoyed a peaceful life without any major issues. But recently, things have taken a turn. My father-in-law passed away due to illness, and my mother-in-law moved in with us. Ken, being her only son, felt guilty about leaving her alone and decided to bring her into our home without discussing it with us first. I had always known my husband was a bit of a mama's boy, but I never expected him to make the decision for her to move in with us on his own. He informed us that he had already sold his parents' house. "Do you expect me to abandon my mother when she has nowhere else to go?" he said with an air of finality that left me with no choice but to agree. From that moment on, it was honestly a nightmare. My mother-in-law had never liked me, and now she seized every chance to criticize me. "Maria, what kind of seasoning is this?" she'd snap. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll be more careful," I apologized. "And I don't like greasy food," she continued. "Well, the kids are growing, and Ken likes fried food too," I explained. "Then make a separate meal for me." "Unless you want me to eat unhealthy food and die early," she said, her tone sharp. "No, it's not that, but it would cost more and be a bit of a hassle," I replied, trying to stay calm. "That's where your skills should come in. Ken earns enough, so why don't you manage the finances better? And as for the hassle, you're just spoiled. When I was your age, I took care of everything myself, no matter how hard it was. It's such a pity that my grandchildren have to grow up in a house run by such a lazy mother. I feel sorry for them." I thought to myself, if you have so many complaints, why don't you handle it yourself? But I kept quiet because I knew that even a hint of disagreement would earn me my husband's wrath. When I first moved in with my mother-in-law, her constant nagging pushed me to snap. "If you have so many opinions, why don't you just take over?" She reported this to my husband, and he was furious. He confronted me, saying, "How dare you speak to her like that when I'm the one supporting you?" I considered divorce, but as a housewife, I knew I couldn't manage the children alone. They are my greatest treasures, and I couldn't bear the thought of losing them, so I chose to endure the relentless criticism in silence. Instead of merely enduring the situation, I began quietly preparing for a divorce. I applied for jobs at various companies while my mother-in-law watched over me at home. Only one company offered me a part-time position, but thanks to my previous experience as a bank clerk, I secured a clerical job at a bank. It was my first corporate role in a long time, and I found it exciting. Although the job came with its own set of responsibilities and stress, it was still a welcome relief compared to being constantly under my mother-in-law's scrutiny. However, my mother-in-law was not pleased with the fact that I was working. "Why work when Ken earns a good salary? Maybe she's just out looking for men," my mother-in-law muttered. "That's a ridiculous way of thinking. You're being completely unreasonable," I thought to myself. While Ken does earn a decent salary, having his mother living with us has increased our expenses, so we can't afford everything as comfortably as before. Despite this, my mother-in-law insisted that I give her an allowance to ensure I wasn't spending money on other men. When I refused, explaining it wasn't feasible, she reported it to my husband. That night, when Ken came home from work, he was furious. He shouted at me, just as he had done before. "Are you having an affair?" he demanded. "Huh? I'm not," I protested. "That's what my mother said. She claims you're using your part-time salary to support other men. I'm not doing that. Why do you believe your mother's lies? Be quiet. If you're innocent, then give her an allowance to prove it. Oh no. At that moment, my mother-in-law walked in with a smug expression. $500 a month, she declared. That much, I gasped. That's what my mother says, so just give it to her, Ken insisted. In the end, I was overwhelmed by their combined pressure. I had to hand over most of the money I earned from my part-time job to my mother-in-law as an allowance. As if that wasn't bad enough, my mother-in-law took it a step further and told the children, "Your mother is a terrible adulterer," with a smug grin. Even junior high school kids understand what that means, and it was deeply unfair to lie to them like that. I felt completely helpless and thought it was grossly unjust. It was tearing me apart. Then things took a turn for the worse. I discovered that my husband was having an affair. Despite his suspicions of my infidelity, he was the one being unfaithful. This was the breaking point for me. They say that when you hit your limit, you just explode. I couldn't stand another moment with these people, so I immediately went to get the divorce papers. "I don't want to stay in this house after you had an affair," I told my husband, confronting him with the divorce papers. He laughed and said, "I don't want an old woman like you in my house anyway." It was clear he intended to be with his mistress after the divorce. He agreed to pay alimony and divide the property without protest. When we asked the children what they wanted to do, they both chose to stay in the house. My mother-in-law gave me a smug grin and remarked, "I always knew you preferred your father over this woman." A few days later, after finishing all the necessary paperwork, I packed my bags and prepared to leave my in-laws' house. In the living room, I informed my mother-in-law that I was leaving that day and gave her a respectful bow. She grinned once more and said with biting sarcasm, "You've been a terrible wife and mother from the start." Then she added, "You're such a horrible mother for leaving your children." I couldn't believe how much more she could mock me. My daughter and son actually laughed when they heard my mother-in-law's comments. "Even the children are laughing at you. What a pathetic mother," she sneered. Actually, the children had chosen to stay here, so I wasn't abandoning them. "Oh, I see. So now you're just a sad woman left behind by her children," she retorted. "Well, say what you want, but remember, you're responsible for everything at home from now on." "Don't worry about that," I replied. "Unlike you, I can handle it all." "I see. Well then, I really must be going now," I said, and with that, I left my in-laws' house for good. I moved back to my parents' house and threw myself into work. I requested to switch to full-time and took the necessary tests to become a permanent employee. Fortunately, I succeeded in securing a full-time position. Now I can support the kids and have a sense of stability, while my mother-in-law must be feeling the strain. Sure enough, about 3 months after I left, my mother-in-law reached out. "Hey Maria, I need your help." "What's wrong?" I asked. "I have to take Josh to and from his soccer games, and help out at the summer training camp. On top of that, I have to prepare his lunchbox early each morning for practice and wash his dirty uniforms every day. Amy goes to cram school every day too, so I have to drive her back and forth. And I'm doing all the housework by myself. Ken says he's too tired from work to help out," she complained. "Well, if you're just going to complain, I'm hanging up now," I said. "Wait. I'm calling because I need your help, Maria. Sorry, but I'm already divorced. This isn't my concern anymore." "Please don't say that. No, I won't come back. But I understand that you're struggling to manage everything on your own. I can't leave my precious children in your care. I will be taking them with me." "But they want to stay here." "That's because they want you to understand how hard I've been working." "What do you mean?" "When I decided to get divorced, the first thing I did was talk to the children. They said they would follow me immediately." Amy, my daughter, asked, "So this means grandmother and the others are just pushing you out, right, Mom?" And Josh said, "I don't like that. We know how hard you work, Mom." So the kids decided to stay here for now to show their grandmother what I've been going through. I was overjoyed that my children were on my side. I resolved to earn enough to bring them home with me. Well then. Yes, everything is going according to plan. I'm now a full-time employee and I'll be taking the kids. Oh no. I hired a lawyer and requested that custody be transferred. Since the children wanted to live with me, the process was straightforward, and custody was granted without difficulty. When I reported the affair to my husband's company, his boss was stunned, and as a result, my husband was transferred to a department where his career prospects were severely limited. Because of this demotion, he can no longer afford the mortgage on their house. My mother-in-law has been forced to start working as well. She's furious with her son for putting her in this position. Now my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law are blaming each other, and it looks like they might have to leave the house soon. Well, that's no longer my concern. In the meantime, I rented an apartment and moved in with my children. They're growing up wonderfully. My daughter handles the cooking, and my son helps with the laundry and cleaning. I'm determined to support them so they can pursue their dreams, so I'll keep working hard and earning. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.